Gojo is back, and he's pissed. After 3 years and 3 months, Gege remembers that Gojo's also a part of the series. Last chapter hinted towards the return of Gojo, and after fans saw the prison realm in the cover page, they couldn't stop themselves from taking over Twitter and asking to bring him back. In the previous chapter, we got to see the cast of Culling Games together strategizing on how to unseal Gojo and save Megumi, and chapter 211 titled Gain and Loss resumed from there. Chapter begins with sorcerers preparing to unseal Gojo from the prison realm, but Hana asks if they would unseal him in the building. So Takaba, being Takaba, says, "To be fair, this place doesn't have the right atmosphere for a welcoming party, and let's decorate it with some origami." Angel then explains how physical time doesn't run in prison realm, so they don't know what Gojo felt in the last 19 days since Halloween when he was sealed. It might just be a moment, or Gojo could have felt like waiting for 100 years. Thus, Angel's worried about Gojo's mental state. Shoko says if in any case Gojo's confused, then it could be really dangerous to unseal him here. So Yuji, Hakari, and Kira imagine Gojo going berserk like a Godzilla and couldn't agree more to find a more open and safer place. This panel made me chuckle. So they all went to Kiroko Mine, took cover, and unsealed Gojo like it's as if some dynamite ready to blow off. But I guess this is also for Hana and how her curse technique works. That's why she initially suggested not to seal Gojo in the building. On Inumaki's say, Hana activates her curse technique where Jacob's ladder on the back gate of the prison realm. While Takaba casually breaks the fourth wall and Shoko's wearing sunglasses like she's on vacation, Yuji and Aw gently approach, but only to realize there's nothing and everything has vanished. "Where are you, Gojo?" Hana gets scared that she might have screwed up and tries to explain that this isn't her fault. Gojo might have turned evil and her light technique could have made him disappear. Shoko agrees with her since Gojo's personality has always been like that, but then they all suddenly feel an earthquake, and this can't be a coincidence. Scene then shifts to Kenjaku, where we learned that he put the prison realm 8,000 meters deep in a trench with detectors and other cursed spirits inside the multi-layered seal just in case Gojo gets unsealed. He learned everything about the back of the prison realm after absorbing Tengen, just to guarantee that even if the seal's broken, Gojo will still die. But Gojo's Satoru is back! Gojo, instead of meeting his comrades straight away, went to settle his beef and face Kenjaku. We got to see Gojo after so long, and I used to pray for times like this, and we couldn't help but notice that he's more buff than ever, and is in black outfit which suits him well. Kenjaku tries to ask him generic questions, but Gojo instantly warns him that he should be choosing his words carefully after all. They will be his last. Am I hearing boss music? We almost got to see a few glimpses of round 2 of Gojo vs Kenjaku, but then the fight was cut early when someone intervened in the fight. And of course, it's none other than the king of curses himself. Looking at Sukuna's new appearance, Gojo says, "You've changed from a while ago, Megumi." Then we see a recall to Sukuna said when he takes over Yuji, he will first kill Gojo. Sukuna now says, "It turned out to be this brat's body, but I'll kill you." Gojo ridicules Sukuna by saying the guy who ran away from Yuji is acting almighty. How embarrassing to see him with his tail between his legs. Urame gets enraged because Gojo ridiculed her master. She tries to attack Gojo, and she ain't a weak character as she killed Yorozu in Heian era and even took care of Yuji and Maki a few chapters back, but Gojo quickly humbles her and sends her flying with just one punch, asking, "Who the F are you?" and letting her know her place. Gojo, as he once said, "Though heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one." Kenjaku intervenes and stops the fight. He reminds Sukuna of the promise he made before fighting Gojo, but Gojo, being Gojo, again pokes Sukuna by saying, "A superior person like Sukuna-sama is going to listen to a guy that looks like a mom's dust sewn cloth." Man, Gojo ain't taking them seriously. He's facing 2 most powerful characters of the series, and he still has the guts to poke fun at them. But then Gojo thinks he also has some work to do before fighting, as he wants to give a proper funeral to Geto's body, and proposes the fight to retake on 24th of December, to which Kenjaku replies, "How romantic to schedule our fight on Christmas Eve," but Gojo says he doesn't want to remember 2 death anniversary of the same person. This is a callback to the night parade of the 1,000 demons that happened in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, in which Yuta defeated Geto. Then we get again a callback of Yuji asking Gojo if Sukuna is stronger than him. Gojo had replied, "It'll be tough if Sukuna regains all his powers." Thus Yuji had asked, "Would you lose?" Gojo replies the same thing again. "Of course I'll win." Gojo's declaring himself as victor even before the fight. Trash talking done by Gojo in this chapter is everything. As chapter ends, Gege announces a 2-week break. Gege drew his most hated character of the series and took a 2-week break. As we all know that Gege has already announced the series will end this year, and by looking at the pace of the last few chapters, and also since Gojo is out, we think he's heading there. Now let's look at some of the most likely theories that can transfigure from here. Gojo will return to his comrades and will tell them what has been decided between the most powerful trio in the series, and will brush it off as some side quest. I also want him to avenge Yaga's death and beat the Pope of Gakuganji, but we have no whereabouts of that oldie. We can also see Gakuganji can cross the line and side with Sukuna and Kenjaku. This may be the least surprising thing which can happen in the series, and be prepared for many more side switches as the climax is approaching. An all-out war is on the cards, and as we know from Gege, has been dealing with deaths from the last few chapters. Be prepared to say final goodbye to your favorite characters. We don't know who will survive. We also know Gojo has received 2 warnings from Sukuna that he'll definitely kill him, but as of now, when we compare both individuals, it seems far-fetched. Sukuna in Megumi's body will be the key, as Gojo may not go all out against Megumi x Sukuna. We also know that Megumi's ancestor killed Gojo's ancestor in an all-out fight, so Sukuna at full power using Shadow's techniques might be more broken than we could imagine. We know that Gojo's ancestor didn't possess both Six Eyes and Infinity at the same time, but Sukuna and Megumi in the same body might even that out. But for now, good guys will probably try to save Megumi first, as we saw in chapter 220 that Yuji, Yuta, and Maki all have different plans to save him. What all 3 of these guys need to execute their plans in making Sukuna incapable of fighting first, and that's where our beloved Gojo Sensei arrives. We're all prepared to see round 3 of Gojo vs Sukuna, and the way manga is heading, we're surely to get this epic showdown soon. Gojo has already claimed twice that he could beat Sukuna, but even he himself admitted that Sukuna at his full power might be troublesome. Currently, Sukuna has eaten 15 fingers out of the 20, and that may be why we didn't get to see Gojo and Sukuna go all out. Even Sukuna fans have to agree that current Sukuna doesn't stand a chance against Gojo, with him being more pissed than ever. But there is a hope for Sukuna fans in the form of his original body, which we saw a glimpse of in chapter 220. Kenjaku's plan is to return it as a souvenir to Sukuna. We know that Sukuna has made some promise to Kenjaku, and as Gojo states, it might have been a bidding vow, so returning the original body may have played a huge part in making Sukuna agree to that. We're not so sure about this, but there is some chance of the remaining last 5 fingers still being with the original vessel. We still don't believe that Sukuna will go back to his original body now, as it completely sabotages the whole looking after Megumi from the beginning of the series to taking over him and sending his soul into the dark void by killing his sister with his own shadow techniques. The character development for both Megumi and Sukuna has been far better even than the main protagonist himself, and we don't believe Gege will be willing to make all this story pointless by putting Sukuna back in his vessel. There's also my personal theory that once Megumi eats the last 5 fingers, we might see him growing a new pair of arms, as was the case with Sukuna back in old times. There's also the other part of Kenjaku's plan to do something with Yuji, as we know he took over Yuji's mother's body and has been interested in his growth. Whatever it is, we may see it soon, as we all know that Jujutsu Kaisen may end this year, and our boy Itadori is feeling lackluster in character development in comparison to other characters such as Maki, Megumi, and even Yuta, with almost no screen time at all in Culling Games event. We've already seen Yuji losing one of his best friends, Nobara, alongside one of his mentors, Nagami, in the span of 19 days according to the manga timeline. There's a chance for Yuji to get a cool power-up and fight Sukuna as an equal. It needs to happen soon. Kenjaku still will be playing a huge part in this story, as we know he has already taken control of Tengen and plans to merge humankind with him to convert everyone into cursed spirits. Some people may have forgotten that Kenjaku even got the governments and militaries of many countries involved in the Culling Games by telling them that they can extract an enormous amount of energy from the sorcerers such as Mighty Gojo, who, as claimed by Kenjaku himself, can power an entire country for over a year. Whatever the case may be, Jujutsu Kaisen is looking promising in terms of storylines and dream battles. I mean, we're all waiting for Gojo and Sukuna to lay out their domains at the same time to see which one is more perfect than the other. The chances of this happening is pretty high as well, as we all know Sukuna loves to show off his domain and Gojo never backs down from a good old-fashioned challenge. Also, don't forget that Sukuna still has the overpowered Maharaga in his arsenal. As we all saw, he did pretty well inside his enemy's domain. So, we have a lot to look forward to, and as we can do is pray that Gege doesn't disappoint us after all the hype he's created over all these years. So what are some topics you guys might want us to discuss in the next video? Do let us know in the comments section, as we're always rating them, and it helps us improve our next video. Thanks for your support. Signing out, Aniverse.